Patch 7.3 is a turning point in a lot of ways for Final Fantasy XIV. It marks the finale of the Dawntrail story, which has been such a tumultuous time in the game's history. And even according to Yoshi P, is when we can actually see the beginning of a philosophical change for the game design going forward. Most notably with the Deep Dungeon coming in 7.35. And while I don't think opinions of this patch will necessarily move mountains by itself, what I do think is possible is that we retroactively look back to this patch and say this could be where it all changed. Some may say that's an optimistic view of the game. I would agree, but I want to talk about why I am this optimistic about the future of Final Fantasy XIV when so many people seem to be so down and out about it. And this is coming from someone with plenty of problems with the game, so let's get into it. Hello everyone, I am Jmulls, and let's talk about Final Fantasy XIV.
I too have a vision for the future.
Funny thing is, I was actually rather down and out and disappointed with the state of Final Fantasy XIV until 7.2. I was wildly disinterested with the state of the story when it came to Dawntrail in .0 and .1, but it was the pivot in the writing quality in .2 that pulled me back in. I enjoyed that story way more than I thought I ever was going to, and I viewed it to be a jump in quality I wasn't expecting, at least, for a couple of patches. I thought Calyx as a villain was rather interesting, not the best villain they ever wrote, but it was his introduction, and I thought it was serviceable enough, especially after the last couple of patches. I very much enjoyed the character's Fiend and what they did with her as a character, and I far more enjoyed the balance of screen time the Warrior of Light had, and the importance they had as a character in the narrative compared to what had just come before. And since Final Fantasy XIV had always been a game that I really cared about for the story, as well as the gameplay, the fact that they showed me they could pivot quickly when it comes to the narrative again, because they had done it back in Stormblood, even though I personally enjoyed Stormblood .0. Yeah, I'm actually someone that liked the character of Lise, so enjoying .2 showed me, hey, they can still write a narrative that I find engaging and that I want to see the next part in. I also still really enjoy the story going on in the Arcadian. Like, from start to finish so far, it's been really good, each patch. And while I personally still couldn't care less about Tural overall, Alexandria's one big FF9 reference in a lot of ways, and it's those elements that I enjoy because I'm a big FF9 fan. Even if I think the aesthetic of Solution 9 has kind of grown thin for me, there are still elements that I enjoy. And I could see the potential was still there for the elements that I did enjoy. I wanted to find out what happens next in 7.3, which we are about set to find out. I have been really enjoying the new Hildebrand questline. I'm a big Hildebrand guy. So when it came to actually making me invested in what happens in the future, making me excited for what comes next, and grounding me in characters and themes that I find enjoyable and engaging, .2 did a lot for me. It may not be everyone's cup of tea, but it certainly was mine. Heck, it's also entirely possible that because I was streaming 7.2, that it helped increase my enjoyment of that story overall, as I was joking around a lot with chat. We were creating our own inside jokes about what was going on. Heck, one of them was that I was thumbnail farming Sphene the entire time, and I try to uphold that inside joke with my thumbnails for Final Fantasy XIV. If you couldn't tell from all the Sphene thumbnails. And sure, while not a lot of people will be able to have that experience when it comes to how they engage with the Final Fantasy XIV narrative, it is how I play it now. And you know what? I had fun with it. I enjoyed the story, and I was invested in finding out what happens next. And when it comes down to formulating my own thoughts on something, I care about how I feel when I experience it, what I think when I play a story. And I want to be clear here, it's not like I only enjoyed it because I was streaming, it's just, it was an element that made me enjoy just a little bit more. But I also think it's a matter of how I play Final Fantasy XIV.
I too have a vision for the future.
I am no longer a mono gamer. Gone are the days when I could just spend hours upon hours upon hours every day only playing something like RuneScape. And I mean old school RuneScape before it was even called old school RuneScape. Or back in the day with World of Warcraft. I like playing a variety of games. We've been playing a lot of Xenosaga Episode 2 and also Bravely Default. And we just wrapped up Donkey Kong Bonanza. I love playing a wide variety of games. So if a specific element of Final Fantasy XIV fails to grab my attention and keep my attention, like the Occult Crescent did after a week, I just go on to play something else. I'll talk about why that piece of content failed to grab my attention, what I didn't like or what I did like about it, but it's not like that I only play Final Fantasy XIV. Heck, it's not even like Final Fantasy XIV is the sole focus for the channel. It's one of the main ones, but also I cover a lot of Xenoblade and Xenosaga, and PC gaming focused stuff on occasion. So if Final Fantasy XIV fails to keep my attention for extended periods of time, I have other stuff to play. I don't view that to be a massive pro of Final Fantasy XIV, because it is a game with a subscription cost. In my opinion, it should be a game that is able to keep my attention, or should be able to, and when it fails to do that, I do view it to be a con. It's just, I'm not going to run around like a headless chicken screaming that the world is burning or anything like that. I'll explain what I like or what I don't like and go on about my day. And there's a lot of elements to modern Final Fantasy XIV that I'm not the biggest fan of. Job design being a big one as well. The way the game tackles grinds. I think 14's implementation of housing can leave a lot to be desired. And the glamour rewards in Dawntrail have really not been my cup of tea. So the rewards and a lot of pieces of content in Dawntrail have just not interested me, which has kind of blasted a lot of the content in Dawntrail at the kneecaps for me, just because there's no really interesting reward waiting for me, because nothing particularly appeals to me. Though I do want to get the spacesuit from Cosmic Exploration, it's just crafting and gathering have never really been elements of MMOs that have grabbed my attention for long. But the issues I've had with Final Fantasy XIV in all of these regards have largely been philosophical rather than just the execution of specific pieces of content. And in an interview we covered on the channel that Yoshi P gave to Famitsu, he talked about a lot of those philosophical issues and how the game wants to, or at least he and the game want to move in different directions now. And it sounds good to me. I need to see the execution in game, but the fact they're able to address those particular elements that I've always taken issue with for Final Fantasy XIV, I view to be a good sign. And when I view them in conjunction with the pivot in my overall enjoyment for the story that I had with 7.2, I become more excited for the future of the game. I'm still cautious, don't get me wrong. It's just that Final Fantasy XIV has produced some of my favorite gaming memories, and I still believe it can be capable of doing so again. And I think for a lot of people, the current state of Final Fantasy XIV and the direction it has had with Dawntrail has been one of the biggest downward trends of a game they've been so heavily invested in to where they lost interest compared to where they used to be. For me, I've been down this road before.
For the future.
You may have noticed one of the games I mentioned before, World of Warcraft. Well, one of my other favorite gaming franchises historically has been Halo. I have been burned before. Final Fantasy XIV is not even in the same stratosphere, not even in the same galaxy as the pain those series have caused me before. You want to talk about the Dawntrail story being bad? I agree. I haven't even liked that much outside of Sphene in .0 and 7.2. I was largely disinterested with it. That is nothing in comparison to the pain I felt with my favorite stories and franchises, that being Halo and World of Warcraft, taking longtime stories that I loved and treasured and spitting in their faces, rubbing it in the dirt, and borderline belittling it with new story developments, absolute character assassinations, and taking some of the most treasured stories in all of gaming and retconning it to make it all about a new character they came up with like the week before, who has, I'm not joking, about 7 lines of dialogue in the entire expansion. I have seen terrible storytelling. I have seen bad plot development, to where it's not just a bad story in isolation or makes you disinterested with what comes next. I have seen storytelling so bad, it actively corrupts what has come before to change that story fundamentally to make it worse. I have been through Halo 5. I have been through World of Warcraft, Battle for Azeroth, World of Warcraft, Shadowlands, World of Warcraft, Dragonflight. I have been through them trying to take Halo and make it a live service game that was supposed to go on for 10 years and is now limping on its 5th. Not even limping, it's crawling through the muck trying to find its own grave. I don't even like Wuklamad as a character, but in comparison to the dog crap I have put up with over the years, she is the sweetest ambrosia in comparison to what they did to Cortana, to what happened to Arthas, what they did with Sylvanas. So Final Fantasy XIV puts out a story for a little bit that I'm not particularly enthralled by or enthusiastic about. Big whoop. It's not like they took the storyline of Shadowbringers and said, yeah, so you know all of Emmett Selk? Yeah, well, actually, it was Zoralja the entire time. Like, that is the level of stupidity I have experienced before. Dawntrail has nothing on that. And the fact I'm already interested in what's happening now because of 7.2, I'm good. And like, if you want my 2 cents, if Final Fantasy XIV and Dawntrail is the worst gaming experience you've ever had, you should feel fortunate that you never had to watch the stories and IP that you grew up with be sanitized, neutered, and stripped of everything remotely interesting, and all that has come before be bastardized, all in the service of churning out the most soulless slop that feels as if it actively reviles all that came before. To quote Natsuki Subaru, I know hell. Dawntrail wasn't my cup of tea. It was nowhere near as bad as some of those other ones. So yeah, I am excited for the future of Final Fantasy XIV. So the game stumbled for a bit. I want to see it get back up and incorporate the design changes on a philosophical level that they have just talked about. I want to see that happen. They haven't burned me to the point of no return. They're not even close to it.
I too have a vision for the future.
So yeah, I am excited for what happens in 7.3. I'm interested in actually engaging with that content once or twice. I don't think I'm going to be spending like 8 hours a day, 15 weeks playing Final Fantasy XIV with 7.3. No, it's the beginning, I hope, of a change in design philosophy moving into the future. There's still a lot that needs to be remedied, a lot that needs to be fixed and altered in my opinion, but the specific pieces of content coming in 7.3, I'm looking forward to playing at least once or twice. I'm looking forward to the Alliance raid. I am looking forward to the new planet for cosmic exploration. I am looking forward to the deep dungeon when we get it in a couple of months. Can we please change this release cadence? And I am very much looking forward to the next MSQ coming with patch 7.3. There's nothing really there that I'm like, oh, I never want to interface with this. It's just I probably won't play it for hours at a time except for maybe the deep dungeon. It will largely be the status quo for me, and I'm hoping the story at least knocks it out of the park and we can put a bow on the Dawntrail story and move on with it, and go to something different, something new, something fresh. Ideally with Sphene in tow, but we'll see. And we can get into FanFest season and see what they have cooking up for 8.0, which is when I expect a lot of the big shifts in design will hopefully, hopefully come into fruition. I would say Dawntrail has been a bad expansion, but it's by no means one of the worst gaming experiences I've ever had. I have been burned way worse than Dawntrail. That doesn't make it good. I'm just saying, I have seen hell. I know hell. Its name is Shadowlands. Its name is Halo 5 Guardians. So here's a fun one. Leave a comment down below with your worst gaming experience. Is it a game? Is it an expansion? Is it Dawntrail? Though, again, if it is Dawntrail, I will say, you have been rather lucky. Are you in need of emotional support, i.e. have you played Halo 5 before? In which case, I feel you. I'd love to hear your thoughts and hear your opinions and hear your perspectives. And what has been your favorite expansion in Final Fantasy XIV? What was your favorite period in the game, whether that be the story or the overall experience you've had with the game? I'd love to hear your thoughts and hear your opinions and hear your perspectives. While you're down there, leave a like and subscribe so you can stay up to date with all that's going on with Final Fantasy XIV. Follow me on TikTok, Twitch, and Twitter, Jmulls G. I have a Discord in the description down below. And if you want to hear Yoshi P pretty much agree with a lot of the points I've been talking about before, you should check out the interview he gave with Famitsu that I covered right here. Stay safe, everybody. Have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Until we meet again.